am so excited to be here, and you know why I'm so excited to be here? It's because I talk about zero waste, circular economies, and upcycling all day long, all the time, and guess what? Nobody knows what I'm talking about. My peeps are in the room! Woo! Okay, so that's what I like to hear. A little bit about how we started. My situation was I was working in an outdoor apparel industry and overseeing product, and we were trying to get sustainable. And this was almost 10 years ago when I kind of started on this journey. And we started looking at the material inputs, and you guys have heard about a lot of great material inputs and some science fiction material inputs that are coming down the road that we're super excited about. But we started looking at that and doing organic cottons, recycled polyesters, hemp, soy, bamboo, and it was all great and that was all awesome. But what we realized was that in the middle of this whole process, the process itself was broken. And what we were ending up with was a whole bunch of invoices sitting on my desk for all of our excess fabric liability. And I looked at that and I said, holy cow, if we are doing this, everybody else in the industry is doing this. If everybody else in the industry is doing this, we have a major problem. So I started to delve into it, and what I realized was that our industry, the textile industry, is the second dirtiest industry on the planet, right behind oil. So we have a lot of work to do. So in looking at all that, we said, okay, I can't do this under the umbrella of where I'm working today. We have to start something out. And if we have to start something out, what do? The industry needs innovation. The language around the way that sustainability is communicated needs to convert to the language of business so that we could try and bring practicality into the situation and bring everybody to the table. We needed to look at upcycling at scale because there were all these materials that were left over out there and they're going into incinerators and landfills. How crazy is that? What goes into materials? Water, fresh air. We use these things every single day. We create the materials, a whole bunch of them, up to 30% of them get left over in manufacturing, and then we just burn them or landfill them. How great is that? Not so cool, right? So we also needed to look at collaboration across different industries. How do we do this? We can't do this by ourselves. This is a big deal. How do we look at references from other industries and pull everybody together? And then we also had to look at innovative design, not only from a product standpoint and what materials were going in and how we ended up to use those products, but also from a systems level. And you heard a lot about systems design from Nari today and what that's going to start to look like. And then the next steps were we needed to move towards circularity. So I got to start from scratch and start a whole new company. That's the easy part, ha ha ha. And so we got to do it the way I wanted to do it, which was I wanted to use business as a force for good. We are a certified B Corporation. That's one of our missions. And the other piece of that was we just needed to take a really complicated environmental conversation and boil it down to what are the two things that any species on this planet need in order to survive. That's water and air. So we boil the conversation down to how can we keep water clean and how do we have fresh air and how do we build products that last a lifetime. We want to pioneer responsible manufacturing around that and believe in the power of business and people to do the right thing. So from that, we came up with one crazy mantra, which is kind of our cross to bear, so to speak, is that our company uses only what already exists. In my realization, there was like so many materials out there, and every single day there's so many materials getting created that what happens if we just stop and we don't use any innovation on creating new materials until we take care of the ones that have already been created? The second piece of that was, okay, this is no small task, I realize that, but how do we rid the world of waste as a mission and then inspire a generation to reduce their impact on the planet? So in our world, the language piece of this starts to look at waste versus excess. We don't use the word waste. The reason is waste is garbage, disposable. It's something that throws away that nobody wants. There's a lot of countries out there in the world that don't even have in their language, they don't have a word for waste because they haven't been treated that way. It was a result of the Industrial Revolution. For us, we use the word excess. It means abundance, opportunity. There's all kinds of these materials out there. How do we use them? Are you guys getting the same weird thing on the screen that I am? Okay. And the other piece of that is that we started on the pre-consumer side of it versus the post-consumer side that most of you guys deal with every day. And the reason we started on the pre-consumer side of it was because there's an estimated 70 times more of it on the planet than there is post-consumer. So if you can wrap your head around that, the blue bin that goes to the curb on Tuesday, it took 70 garbage cans full of pre-consumer excess to make that one post-consumer recycled. For us, I'm going to give you a couple of examples of the partnerships and things that we do and how they all work together. One of these was last year. Southwest Airlines came to us. They had refurbished all of their planes, and they put in a lighter weight material for the seats in order to save fuel. The result of that was 80,000 leather seats, about 43 acres worth of leather. And they said, hey, the one thing we know is we don't want to put it into a landfill. How can you help us out? We created a reverse logistics process. We collected, sorted, and cleaned by partnering with nonprofits in our home state that employ adults with disability, fulfilling part of our social impact side of our B Corp mission. And we taught them job training. We put people to work who were sitting around or walking around in warehouses, and we taught them job training and how to deconstruct seats, how to rehabilitate the leather so that we could then turn them into this. Beautiful products that we then commercialized, and we went out and we created video storytelling and told the story. In our media process, we generated 3 billion media impressions, so we got people to pay attention to what we were doing. We ended up selling all of the seats, or all of the bags that were created from the seats, and conserving more than 18 million gallons of water in the process. And as the LA Times pointed out, there was more than 34,056 eternally thankful cows. So another one of those, that's on the post-consumer side of things. The other partnership that I wanted to highlight was something that started as a pre-consumer and ended up as a post-consumer. Pre-consumer, Cycle Oregon's a great nonprofit that we partner with, and they came to us and they have a ride every year, and they needed t-shirts for their ride. We intercepted cotton jersey that was headed to a landfill and started to make t-shirts for them and created those t-shirts and started a partnership with them. In that process, they came back to us and said, hey guys, we have thousands and thousands of tents that we have been using for several years, and they're beyond use at this point. We don't want to landfill them. Is there something you could possibly do with them? So we then took those tents, went through that same reverse logistics process, turned them back into products that we are now going to commercialize for holiday in the form of packable backpack coffee kits and coffee kits at REI and several other products that are going to REI. We've done this with lots of other types of customers. I'm just going to run through these really quickly as we are short on time, but Alaska Airlines, all of the exposure that we've gotten from some of these projects has brought in different industries to the table. So last year was the year of aviation with Alaska coming on board as well as Southwest. One of your local favorites and one of our local favorites is Lush. If you walk into any Lush store, everybody who works in a Lush store is wearing a Looptworks upcycled apron, conserving massive amounts of water and reducing the amount of water. We created innovation around this by making those aprons two-sided. They could use them more than once before they had to be washed, and they're extremely more durable because they're now made out of a excess material that we found. Shoe leather scraps, one facility alone that we work with, 4,700 pounds a day of excess shoe leather scraps that have been incinerated. We took those and married them with architectural felted wool and created products that we're now commercializing at Patagonia. And another project on that felted wool that we're doing together with Mercedes-Benz, where we intercept these architectural felted wool, the leftover pieces of wool that they use to make their panels, intercept that wool, use excess shoe leather scraps, and created products that we co-branded together with them. As you can see, we're going through automotive, we're going through aviation, we've worked together in furniture, we're working together in toys. So there's a lot of different industries that we're starting to touch with this, as I mentioned, from the cross-collaboration of industries. The innovations around zero waste from our standpoint, reaching scale. Scale was huge. It is the goal. We are still nowhere near where we need to be, but we're headed in that direction, and we need that from the partnerships that we do with you guys. There are so many materials on this planet that have yet to be reach their full useful purpose in life. Innovative design processes, both on the product side, but also on a systems standpoint. If we don't know what we're going to do with something at the end of its useful life, we shouldn't be designing it in the first place. And that is a big, big important thing. We have to stop this at the source, which is where we create products. The next piece of that is also the reverse logistics of that. We are Looptworks, we're not Upcycle Works. So reverse logistics, collection, sorting, all of those things that we start to do are pieces of that circular economy that we're learning on the ground, boots on the ground, getting good at. And those are the pieces of the puzzle that are going to help us start to change the systems, You've heard a lot about material input. We get some of these biomaterials put into place, and all the great things that Eben and all the other speakers that we've heard about on the bio side of things, we start to put those into place, and then we have a good natural loop. And then we're moving towards a closed loop solution there. I'll stop there, and we'll move on and take questions.